Welcome music fans. Join us today as we delve into the captivating life and untimely demise of Ricky Nelson, a beloved figure in the world of music and entertainment. From his rise to fame as a teen idol to the events that marked his later years, this documentary explores the highs and lows of his extraordinary journey. So let's dive in. Ricky Nelson, born Eric Hilliard Nelson on May 8, 1940 in Teaneck, New Jersey, in the United States of America. Nelson was the second son of the renowned entertainment duo Harriet Hilliard Nelson and Ozzie Nelson. His father, Ozzie, hailed from a mixed heritage, with half of Swedish descent. Alongside Ricky, the Nelsons had an older son, David, who would later make a name for himself as an actor. As Ozzie Nelson toured with the Nelson Orchestra, his wife Harriet, often the vocalist for the band, stayed behind in Englewood, New Jersey, tending to their newborn Ricky and toddler David. The family eventually settled in Tenafly, New Jersey, purchasing a two-story colonial house. However, their stay was short-lived as they soon relocated to Hollywood when Ozzie and Harriet were scheduled to appear in the 1941-42 season of Red Skelton's The Raleigh Cigarette Hour radio show. During this time, Ricky remained under the care of his paternal grandmother in Tenafly. In November 1941, the Nelsons acquired their permanent residence, a two-story Cape Cod colonial home in Los Angeles. Ricky finally joined his parents and brother in Los Angeles in 1942, marking the beginning of their new life together on the West Coast. Despite his small stature and battles with severe asthma, Nelson was a complex child characterized as likable yet shy, introspective, and enigmatic by Red Skelton's producer John Guadal. To alleviate his nighttime struggles with asthma, a vaporizer-emitting tincture of evergreen eased his sleep. When Skelton was drafted in 1944, Guadal conceived the radio sitcom The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet for Nelson's parents, which debuted to favorable reviews on October 8, 1944. Ozzie, eventually the head writer of the show, drew inspiration from his son's real-life antics and conflicts. Initially portrayed by professional child actors, 12-year-old Dave and 8-year-old Ricky joined the show on February 20, 1949, in the episode Invitation to Dinner, marking the beginning of their on-air adventures. In 1952, the Nelson family ventured into television with the release of the film Here Come the Nelsons, testing the waters for a potential television series. The film's success convinced Ozzie that they could successfully transition from radio to television. Subsequently, on October 3, 1952, The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet premiered on television, and would air until September 3, 1966. The show's long run solidified its place in television history as one of the longest-running sitcoms, marking a significant milestone in the Nelson family's entertainment career. Nelson's education took him through various schools in Hollywood, including Gardner Street Public School, Bancroft Junior High, and Hollywood High School, where he graduated with a B average in 1958. Despite his academic success, Nelson confessed later in life to disliking school, finding it mundane and an early morning burden. He participated in football and tennis during his high school years, showcasing his athletic abilities. Additionally, in January 1960, Nelson and his brothers showcased their athleticism in a trapeze act on an episode of Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet titled The Circus. Despite his father's encouragement for higher education, Nelson, already a high earner by his teens, saw no need for college. His substantial income, reaching over $100,000 annually at 13, was carefully managed by his parents, who directed his earnings into trust funds. Despite his wealth, his parents permitted him a $50 allowance at the age of 18, sometimes finding himself financially strained, resorting to creative means like collecting and redeeming empty pop bottles to afford simple pleasures like a movie date. In his tweens and early teens, Nelson displayed a passion for music, playing clarinet and drums while also mastering rudimentary guitar chords. He honed his vocal skills by imitating his favorite Sun Records rockabilly artists, often practicing in the privacy of his home bathroom or the showers at the Los Angeles Tennis Club. One of his primary musical influences was Carl Perkins, and Nelson was particularly drawn to Perkins's March 1956 top 10 hit, Blue Suede Shoes, endeavoring to replicate both the sound and tone of the iconic guitar break from the song. At the age of 16, Ricky Nelson was eager to impress his girlfriend, Diana Osborne, who happened to be an Elvis fan. Despite lacking a record contract at the time, he boldly declared to her that he too would make a record. With the assistance of his father, he managed to secure a one-record deal with Verve Records, a notable jazz label on the lookout for young and charismatic talent who could sing or be taught to sing. On March 26, 1957, Nelson entered the recording studio and laid down tracks for the Fats Domino standard, I'm Walkin', and A Teenager's Romance, which was released as his debut single in late April 1957. Additionally, he recorded You're My One and Only Love during the same session. Before the single was officially released, Nelson made his television rock and roll debut on April 10, 1957, performing "I'm Walkin'" while playing the drums in an episode of Ozzie&Harriet, titled Ricky the Drummer. Simultaneously, he made an unpaid public appearance, captivating the audience with a rendition of "Blue Moon of Kentucky," alongside the four preps at a lunch-hour assembly at Hamilton High School in Los Angeles. The overwhelming response from the audience, comprised of screaming teens who had watched his television performance, hinted at the impending stardom. "I'm Walkin'" quickly ascended to number 4 on Billboard's Best Sellers in Stores chart, while its B-side, "A Teenager's Romance," claimed the number 2 spot. As the television series took a summer break in 1957, Nelson embarked on his first road trip, headlining at 4 state and county fairs in Ohio and Wisconsin, with the 4 preps opening and closing for him. In early summer 1957, Ozzie intervened in his son's career and withdrew him from Verve Records following disputes over royalties. Instead, he secured Nelson a lucrative 5-year contract with Imperial Records, granting him control over song selection, sleeve artwork, and other production aspects. Nelson's debut single with Imperial, "Bebop Baby," garnered a staggering 750,000 advance orders, surpassed 1 million copies in sales, and peaked at number 3 on the charts. His inaugural album, titled "Ricky," hit the shelves in October 1957 and swiftly climbed to the number 1 spot before the year's end. Bolstered by these achievements, Nelson's presence on the Ozzie&Harriet show grew, with him concluding every 2 or 3 episodes with a musical performance. Growing increasingly disillusioned with performing alongside older jazz and country session musicians, who showed disdain for rock and roll, Nelson made a pivotal decision after his tours in Ohio and Minnesota during the summer of 1957. He resolved to assemble his own band comprising members closer to his age. The first recruit was 18-year-old electric guitarist James Burton. Bassist James Kirkland, drummer Richie Frost, and pianist Gene Garth completed the lineup. Their inaugural recording together was "Believe What You Say." Previously, Joe Mathis had handled the lead guitar role, contributing to Nelson's early hits like "Bebop Baby," "Stood Up," and "Waitin' in School." In 1958, Nelson recorded "Poor Little Fool" for his second album Ricky Nelson, initially hesitant to release it as a single. However, despite his reservations, the song became a massive hit, topping Billboard's Hot 100 chart and selling over 2 million copies. Between 1958 and 1959, Ricky Nelson's chart success rivaled that of Elvis Presley, with Nelson tallying 12 hits compared to Presley's 11 during that time. While Presley's recording activity was limited due to his military service, Nelson embarked on his first major tour in the summer of 1958, commanding substantial nightly earnings. By 1960, the Ricky Nelson International Fan Club boasted an impressive 9,000 chapters worldwide. Despite his rising fame, Nelson encountered unsettling incidents, such as fans attempting to throw themselves under his car, an experience he described as one of the most embarrassing and frightening moments in his career. Nelson pioneered the use of television to promote hit records, a groundbreaking approach that revolutionized music marketing. Under the guidance of his father, they pioneered early music videos through innovative editing techniques, notably showcased in productions like Travelin' Man. Despite a career in limbo by 1967, Nelson continued to grace television screens, appearing on iconic shows such as The Ed Sullivan Show and assuming various acting roles in programs like The Streets of San Francisco and Quinn Martin's Tales of the Unexpected. His guest hosting stint on Saturday Night Live in 1979 remains memorable, where he humorously spoofed his television sitcom image in a Twilight Zone parody, navigating through the realms of other beloved 1950s, early 1960s era sitcoms. As a skilled performer, Nelson had collaborated with notable musicians such as James Burton, Joe Osborne, Alan Putler Harris, Joe Mathis, the Jordanaires, Scotty Moore, and Johnny and Dorsey Burnett. Their collective talent contributed to Nelson's well-recorded music, characterized by a clear and punchy sound, attributed in part to engineer Bunny Robin and producer Jimmy Haskell. Nelson excelled in both rockabilly and ballads, showcasing his versatility as an artist. While he favored up-tempo hits like "Believe What You Say," "Hello Mary Lou," and "Stood Up," his smooth voice also lent itself well to ballads. Nelson achieved major success with chart toppers such as "Travelin' Man," "Poor Little Fool," and "Young World," along with other hits like "A Teenager's Romance," "Lonesome Town," and "Teenage Idol," which resonated with his audience. Nelson's career extended beyond music into the realm of film and television. He made his cinematic debut in Here Come the Nelsons in 1952 and later appeared in The Story of Three Loves in 1953. Director Howard Hawks notably cast Nelson in Rio Bravo in 1959, alongside John Wayne and Dean Martin, a role credited with contributing to the film's box office success. His filmography also includes The Wackiest Ship in the Army in 1960 with Jack Lemmon and Love and Kisses in 1965, directed by his father. Nelson's television credits are extensive, encompassing guest appearances on popular shows like General Electric Theatre, McCloud, The Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew Mysteries and The Love Boat. He also took on supporting roles in TV films such as 3 on a Date and High School USA in 1983, showcasing his versatility as both a musician and actor. In 1963, Nelson inked a significant 20-year deal with Decca Records, marking a pivotal moment in his career. Despite initial triumphs like the 1964 hit, For You, reaching number 6, Nelson's chart success took a hit amidst the rise of Beatlemania, the British invasion, and the emergence of the counterculture era. Remarkably, Decca opted to retain Nelson, demonstrating their faith in his talent. Embracing a shift toward country music in the mid-1960s, Nelson became a trailblazer in the country rock genre, contributing to the development of the California sound, alongside artists like Jackson Browne and Linda Ronstadt. However, it wasn't until 1970 that Nelson returned to the top 40, achieving success with his rendition of Bob Dylan's She Belongs to Me, featuring the Stone Canyon Band and notable musicians like Randy Meisner, who later co-founded the Eagles, and former Buckaroo Steel guitarist Tom Brumley. In 1972, Ricky Nelson experienced a final brush with chart success with Garden Party, a song inspired by a disappointing performance at a Richard Nader Oldies concert in Madison Square Garden. Feeling disheartened by the audience's negative response to his new material, Nelson penned the tune to express his frustration. Despite the setback, Garden Party soared to number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100 and claimed the top spot on the Billboard Adult Contemporary chart, earning gold certification as a single. However, his subsequent endeavors under MCA Records, which had acquired Decca, were met with mixed results. By 1974, Nelson found himself at a crossroads in his career as MCA struggled to find a fitting direction for the former teen idol. Despite efforts to reignite his musical journey, including tours with the new Stone Canyon Band formed under Lindy Getz's direction, Nelson's success proved elusive. Ultimately, with 7 years remaining on his contract, MCA opted to part ways with the seasoned artist, marking the end of an era in Nelson's musical journey. Personally, in 1957, at the age of 17, Nelson found himself smitten with Marianne Gabba, who portrayed his on-screen girlfriend in 3 episodes of Ozzie&Harriet. Despite their youth, Nelson and Gabba shared a mutual attraction, although their relationship didn't progress into anything serious. The following year, Nelson's affections shifted to 15-year-old Laurie Collins, a country singer featured on the weekly telecast Town Hall Party. Together, they penned Nelson's debut composition, My Gal, while Collins introduced him to notable figures like Johnny Cash and Tex Ritter. Collins even made an appearance on Ozzie&Harriet as Ricky's girlfriend, showcasing their budding romance in the musical finale. Although they discussed marriage, parental objections ultimately put a halt to their plans for a future together due to their age. During Christmas 1961, Nelson began dating Kristen Harmon, daughter of football player Tom Harmon and actress Elise Knox. They married on April 20, 1963, with Chris pregnant, described later as a shotgun wedding. Chris joined the family television show as a regular cast member in 1963. They had 4 children, Tracy Christine Nelson, twin sons Gunnar Eric Nelson and Matthew Gray Nelson, and Sam Hilliard Nelson. However, by 1975, their marriage had soured, leading to a highly publicized divorce in October 1977. Chris sought alimony, custody of their children, and a share of their assets. The couple temporarily resolved their differences, but Chris retained her attorney to pursue a permanent break, desiring Rick to quit music and prioritize acting over touring. Their conflicting views on Rick's career led to tensions, exacerbated by Chris's alcoholism and extravagant spending habits, leaving Rick to tour extensively while household help cared for their children. The divorce, finalized in December 1982, was financially devastating for Rick due to legal costs exceeding $1 million. In 1980, Nelson began a relationship with Helen Blair, a part-time model and exotic animal trainer he met in Las Vegas. Soon after, she became his constant companion on the road, eventually moving in with him in 1982. Despite serving as his personal assistant and liaison for his fan club, Nelson's family and associates disapproved of Blair. Although Nelson considered marrying her, he ultimately chose not to. Blair tragically died alongside Nelson in the airplane fire, but her name was not mentioned at his funeral. Her parents wanted her buried next to Nelson, but this request was denied by Nelson's mother, Harriet. The Blairs filed a wrongful death suit against Nelson's estate, receiving a small settlement as Nelson did not include Blair in his will. Tragically, on December 31, 1985, Nelson sadly passed away in a plane crash while en route from Guntersville, Alabama, to Dallas, Texas, where he was scheduled to perform a New Year's Eve concert. The Douglas DC-3 aircraft encountered mechanical issues, and a defective heater in the tail of the plane sparked a fatal fire, filling the cabin with toxic fumes. Despite the survival of both pilots, Nelson and all 7 passengers on board lost their lives in the accident. Nelson's remains were misdirected in transit from Texas to California, delaying the funeral for several days. On January 6, 1986, 250 mourners entered the Church of the Hills in Los Angeles for funeral services while 700 fans gathered outside. Attendees included Colonel Tom Parker, Connie Stevens, Angie Dickinson, and dozens of actors, writers and musicians. Nelson was later privately laid to rest at the Forest Lawn Memorial Park Cemetery in Los Angeles, California. As we bid farewell to the story of Ricky Nelson, we remember the legacy of a talented musician whose music continues to inspire generations, and his impact on the music industry and popular culture will always be remembered and cherished. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more future content just like this. Take care and bye for now.